Chapter 20. To prevent this threat from being carried out, Mr. Linton instructed me to take the boy home early on Catherine's pony. He said, "Since we will no longer have any influence over his future, whether for good or ill, you must not tell my daughter where he has gone. She cannot associate with him any more, and it's better for her to remain unaware of his whereabouts. Otherwise, she might become restless and eager to visit the Heights. Simply tell her that his father sent for him unexpectedly, and he had to leave us." Linton was quite unwilling to be woken at 5 in the morning, and was surprised to learn he must prepare for more travel. I eased the situation by explaining that he was going to spend some time with his father, Mr. Heathcliff, who was so eager to see him that he couldn't wait until Linton had recovered from his recent journey. "My father!" he exclaimed, bewildered. "Mother never told me I had a father." "Where does he live?" "I'd rather stay with Uncle." "He lives not too far from the Grange," I replied, "just beyond those hills. It's close enough for you to visit once you're feeling stronger. You should be eager to go home and see him. Try to love him as you loved your mother, and he'll love you in return." "But why haven't I heard of him before?" Linton asked. "Why didn't Mama and he live together like other people do?" "He had work that kept him in the north," I explained, "and your mother's health required her to stay in the south." "And why didn't Mama talk to me about him?" the child persisted. "She often spoke of Uncle, and I grew to love him long ago. How am I supposed to love Papa? I don't even know him." "Oh, all children love their parents," I said. "Your mother might have thought you'd want to be with him if she talked about him often. Let's hurry now. An early ride on such a beautiful morning is much better than an extra hour of sleep." "Is she coming with us?" he asked, referring to the little girl he had seen the day before. "Not now," I replied. "Is the uncle coming?" he persisted. "No, I'll be your companion there," I assured him. Linton sank back into his pillow, lost in thought. "I won't go without Uncle," he finally declared. "I don't know where you're planning to take me." I tried to explain how wrong it was to be reluctant to see his father, but he stubbornly refused to get dressed. I had to call for my master's help to coax him out of bed. Eventually, we managed to get him ready, with several misleading promises that his absence would be brief, that Mr. Edgar and Cathy would visit him, and other equally unfounded assurances I concocted and repeated throughout the journey. The fresh, heather-scented air, the bright sunshine, and the gentle pace of Minnie gradually lifted his spirits. He began to ask questions about his new home and its residents with more interest and energy. "Is Wuthering Heights as nice as Thrushcross Grange?" he asked, turning to take a final look at the valley, where a light mist rose and formed a fleecy cloud against the blue sky. "It's not as surrounded by trees," I replied, "and it's not quite as large, but you can see the countryside beautifully all around. The air is healthier for you, fresher and drier. You might find the building old and dark at first, but it's a respectable house, the second best in the area, and you'll have wonderful walks on the moors. Hareton Earnshaw, Miss Cathy's other cousin, and, in a way, yours too, will guide you to all the most beautiful spots. On nice days, you can bring a book and turn a green hollow into your study. Occasionally, your uncle might join you for a walk. He often strolls out on the hills. "What is my father like?" he asked. "Is he as young and handsome as my uncle?" "He's just as young," I replied. "But he has black hair and eyes, and he looks more severe. He's taller and larger overall. At first, he might not seem as gentle and kind, because that's not his nature. Still, be open and warm with him. Naturally, he'll care for you more than any uncle would, because you're his own." "Black hair and eyes," Linton pondered. "I can't picture him. So, I don't resemble him, do I?" "Not much," I said, though I thought not at all, as I looked with some regret at my companion's pale complexion, slender frame, and large, languid eyes. His mother's eyes, except they lacked her lively spirit, unless a touch of sensitivity briefly animated them. How strange that he never comes to see Mamma and me, he murmured. Has he ever seen me? If he did, I must have been just a baby. I don't remember a single thing about him. "Master Linton," I replied, 300 miles is quite a distance, and 10 years feel much longer to an adult than they do to you. It's likely Mr. Heathcliff intended to visit from one summer to the next, but never found the right moment. Now it's too late. Don't burden him with questions about it. It'll only upset him for no reason." The boy was lost in his own thoughts for the rest of the journey, until we stopped at the farmhouse gate. I watched his face closely to gauge his reaction. He examined the carved facade and low latticed windows, the unruly gooseberry bushes, and twisted firs with serious concentration, then shook his head. His private feelings clearly disapproved of the exterior of his new home, but he was wise enough to hold back his complaints. There might be something better inside. Before he got off his horse, I went ahead and opened the door. It was 6:30. The family had just finished breakfast, and the servant was busy clearing the table. Joseph stood by his master's chair, recounting a story about a lame horse, while Hareton was getting ready for the hayfield. "Hello, Nellie," Mr. Heathcliff greeted me as soon as he saw me. "I was worried I might have to come down and retrieve my property myself. You've brought it, have you? Let's see what we can make of it." He stood up and strode to the door, with Hareton and Joseph trailing behind, their curiosity evident. Poor Linton cast a frightened glance over the three faces. "Surely," Joseph remarked after a serious look, "he's swapped with you, master, and that's his girl." Heathcliff, having stared his son into a state of confusion, let out a derisive laugh. "God, what a beauty! What a lovely, charming thing!" he exclaimed. "Have they raised it on snails and sour milk, Nellie? Oh, damn my soul! That's worse than I expected. And believe me, I wasn't optimistic." I urged the trembling, bewildered child to get down and come inside. He didn't fully grasp the meaning of his father's words, or whether they were directed at him. In fact, he wasn't even sure if the grim, sneering stranger was his father. But he clung to me with increasing fear, and when Mr. Heathcliff took a seat and beckoned him to come in, he buried his face in my shoulder and wept. "Come now," Heathcliff exclaimed, reaching out to pull the boy roughly between his knees. lifting his chin to meet his gaze. "None of that nonsense. We're not going to hurt you, Linton. Isn't that your name? You're entirely your mother's child. Where's my part in you, you little weakling?" He removed the boy's cap, brushing back his thick, flaxen curls, and examined his slender arms and small fingers. During this inspection, Linton stopped crying and raised his large blue eyes to scrutinize the man before him. "Do you know who I am?" Heathcliff asked, satisfied that the boy's limbs were uniformly frail and delicate. "No," Linton replied, his eyes filled with vacant fear. "You've heard of me, I suppose?" "No," he answered again. "No, it's a disgrace your mother never stirred any sense of filial duty towards me. I am your father. I'll have you know. And your mother was a wicked woman to leave you unaware of the kind of father you had. Now don't flinch and blush. Though it is something to see you don't have pale blood, be a good boy, and I'll take care of you. Nellie, if you're tired, feel free to sit down. Otherwise, head back home. I assume you'll relay everything you hear and see to the folks at the Grange. And this matter won't be resolved as long as you hang around." "Well," I replied, "I hope you'll treat the boy kindly, Mr. Heathcliff, or you won't heave him for long. He is the only family you have in this world that you'll ever know. Remember that. I'll be very kind to him. Don't worry," he said with a laugh. "But no one else should be kind to him. I'm possessive about having his affection all to myself. And to start my kindness, Joseph, bring the boy some breakfast. Hareton, you useless calf, get to work." "Yes, Nell," he continued once they had left. "My son is the future owner of your place, and I wouldn't want him to die until I'm sure I'll inherit. Besides, he's mine, and I want the satisfaction of seeing my descendant truly master of their estates. My child hearing their children to work their father's lands for wages. That's the only reason I can tolerate the brat. I despise him for who he is and hate him for the memories he stirs up. But that reason is enough. He's as safe with me and will be cared for as diligently as your master cares for his own. I've prepared a room for him upstairs, furnished in style. I've hired a tutor to come 3 times a week from 20 miles away to teach him whatever he wants to learn. I've instructed Hareton to obey him, and in fact, I've arranged everything to ensure he maintains his superiority and gentlemanly status above his peers. I do regret, however, that he hardly merits the effort. If I had any wish in the world, it was to find him a source of pride, and I'm deeply disappointed with this pale, whining wretch." As he spoke, Joseph returned with a bowl of milk porridge and set it before Linton, who stirred the simple dish with a look of distaste, declaring he couldn't eat it. I noticed the old servant shared much of his master's disdain for the boy, though he had to keep it to himself, as Heathcliff clearly intended for his subordinates to treat Linton with respect. "Can't eat it," he repeated, leaning into Linton's face and lowering his voice to a whisper, wary of being overheard. "But Master Hareton never ate anything else when he was a little one, and what was good enough for him is good enough for you, I'd say." "I won't eat it," Linton snapped back. "Take it away." Joseph snatched up the food indignantly and brought it over to us. "Is there something wrong with the food?" he asked, thrusting the tray under Heathcliff's nose. "What's troubling them?" he asked. "What?" Joseph replied. "That fancy lad says he can't eat them. But I reckon it's true. His mother was just the same. We were almost too filthy to sow the corn for her bread." "Don't bring up his mother to me," the master snapped. "Just get him something he can eat, that's all. What does he usually have, Nellie?" I suggested boiled milk or tea, and the housekeeper was instructed to prepare some. I thought to myself, perhaps his father's selfishness might actually work in his favor. He notices the boy's frail health and understands the need to treat him decently. I'll comfort Mr. Edgar by letting him know how Heathcliff's mood has shifted. With no reason to stay longer, I slipped out while Linton was nervously fending off the friendly sheepdog's attention. But he was too alert to be fooled. As I closed the door, I heard a cry and a frantic repetition of, "Don't leave me! I won't stay here! I won't stay here!" Then the latch lifted and fell. They didn't let him out. I mounted Minnie and urged her into a trot, thus ending my brief guardianship.